For the first time in the country's history, child rapists can now be ordered by a judge to have their testicles removed if the victim is under the age of 13.
At the end of the day, I hope the kids know that they can feel safer because
a McDonald's worker in Savannah was jailed today for committing arson in his own restaurant.
The 35-year-old was given 5 years in a federal prison for deliberately setting fire to a dumpster around the back of the Georgia drive-thru, causing panic and 911 calls in April of last year.
Shit is boosh!
Bow! Ladies and gents, how are we doing? What's going on? What is happening out there? What is the happy haps with you? Welcome to this midweek edition of A. Thompson and Other Disappointments. If it's your first time tuning in, your first time viewing, consider me very much your Willy Wonka of dystopia. Dancing around the chaos, pointing out all of the awfulness to you. It's very much how we style this podcast, this show, as it were. Consider me the MC, the host of said chaos. Whether we're talking about climate change and its irreversible effects, dooming us to a total breakdown in the food supply, or, oceans rising and drowning each and every one of us. Or perhaps nuclear war is your bag. Or perhaps, what else have we got? The expiration of fossil fuels is one that we frequently come back to. What are we all going to do when we run out of oil and society collapses? And as I used to say on earlier editions of the podcast, what are you going to do when your neighbour, who you've always been on great terms with, when your neighbour breaks into your house and crowbars your head in for the last can of beans in your larder? That's very much the vibe of this show. It's supposed to be a satirical weekly. It's supposed to be comedy flavoured. Some of you will have listened to that intro now and you'll be thinking, doesn't sound very funny, Aid. But you know what? In truth, there is funniness. There's comedic mileage to be found. And in the depressing reality that we all share, this god-awful timeline that we're all doomed to endure, there is gallows humour. There is blitz spirit to be found, in that we are all stuck in this together. So why don't you just crack open a bottle of wine, or a Castlemaine 4X, or a Heineken Export. Yes, I will get retro with my alcohol references. Just crack yourself open a beer and drink with me, he says, lifting up his pint of orange squash. So deep in the alcohol exodus and detox am I now that this is what I'm, I don't even have a vice. I used to have a vice. I used to have the booze to help me self-medicate my way through the terror. Now it's just, what even is this? How is orange squash going to help me get through this? Anyway, what a cheery, uplifting introduction you've all enjoyed today. Somebody's just subscribed. That's what that noise means. Right, what are we going to talk about? There's so much in the news at the moment. All of it dark. All of it awful. Oh, somebody else. It's a popular day today, isn't it? What can we talk about that isn't so depressing that by the end of the 45 minutes or an hour, we all end up in unison, wrapping a noose around our collective heads and just ending it all? What can we talk about? Oh my goodness, there's so much Who is subscribing while I'm recording? I'm appreciative. Actually, I fully am. But just give me a sec, guys. Just give me a fucking second to make the content that you're subscribing to. So, lot of bad news recently, a lot of rioting, a lot of terrorism, domestic terrorism, let's call it what it was. I would like to just for a minute, let's try and find a good news story, shall we? Something that isn't, like sometimes it just feels like everything is just going backwards, isn't it? Like we thought we got rid of domestic British racism in all its ugliness in the 80s and 90s. Maybe some of that is my privilege as a middle-class white man. You know, I'm just not confronted with it as much. But I think we thought we got rid of all this stuff. There's a tendency sometimes to think that we are regressing. And so what I would really like is a news story that puts that to bed, that shows that we're not going backwards. You know, so let's just take a look at this one, shall we?
Good evening to you, friends. Greg and Liz here with you. So as of today, Louisiana is now the first state in the country to allow convicted child rapists to be surgically castrated.
Capitol correspondent Chris Rosado has been following this for us for some time now. It's been a few years to get this one passed. He joins us now in the studio. Chris.
Yeah, well, like other bills we've seen become law this year, this was another one that took several tries to get it across the finish line.
So let me just spool back just for a second here. They're saying in Louisiana, which is, you know, if ever there was going to be something hugely regressive happening legally, judicially, it's going to happen in Louisiana, isn't it? It's not exactly an area of America that is famed for its progressive mentalities, I don't think.
Louisiana is now the first state in the country to allow convicted child rapists to be surgically castrated.
And they have passed a law that's going to make it legal for the state to castrate, to cut off the testicles of child sex offenders. Which, look, I'm not saying what they do is okay. It is patently not. It's disgusting. It's gross. It's life damaging. It's like all of the things that we always say these people are, right? They absolutely should be punished. And I guess you could make a case that, you know, if you remove those elements of the anatomy, maybe that makes them less aggressive or something. I'm not enough of a physician to know what the actual physical impact would be on a person. Like, could they still get a boner and then still attack people? I don't know. But it just, like, doesn't this seem really uncomfortably medieval to anyone?
To be surgically castrated.
I don't know. I just feel like if you know that you're badly wired, right? If you know that through a mixture of trauma and just bad luck of the draw, you were wired in such a way that meant that you were attracted to kids, right? I think it should be an option that's open to you. You know, if you know that acting on those urges would severely hurt somebody, I think it's an option that should be open to you to just have that taken off, you know? That would be the honourable thing to do. Or like chemical castration, right? You should have medicine available to you that just nukes your libido. You just have no urges whatsoever then. I think that should be an option. But I also feel like what problem do they actually think they're going to solve with this particular punishment is really what it is. It's not a preventative measure, is it? Because if you are, like, let's say you are a 30-year-old high school teacher and you end up attacking in some capacity a 11-year-old girl, right? You get caught, you're arrested, you're charged, you're convicted. They're not going to let you out. They're just not. Because of all of the shit that you did. Everyone knows what you are, what you did. You're not getting out of the slammer. This is America. They have like draconian sentencing going on over there. You're not getting out of the slammer. You're just not. Which means if you're in the cell, right, you're not. How are you posing it? So it feels like this is on top of that. This is a punishment measure, which really does put it into the leagues of, like, you know, third world countries and, you know, hacking people's hands off for stealing. And it's not civil, is it? It really, I tell you what it does. It propels me back to that old Ides of March monologue that George Clooney delivers in it, where they ask him about this stuff. They go, oh, you know, if somebody attacked your wife or your kid, you would want to kill them, right? So shouldn't the death penalty be available to everyone and blah, blah, blah. And he says, yes, I would, but the state has to be better than the individual, right? So we're stuck with me there. The state has to be better than the individual because we all sign up to live as a state, as a civilization of people, as a society. And with that comes responsibilities and protocols and goalposts that we're willing to sit within. And we've decided unanimously, like throughout society, that we have to be better than X or Y. We don't subscribe to bloodlust. We are civilized. We aren't going to kill people because we don't have that right, etc., etc. It is state overreach. It is barbaric. And I really feel like, you know, even if somebody ran out like into my daughter's nursery and did, yes, I would want to visit absolute terror on them. You'd have to hold me back. I would absolutely murder them. But the state has to be better than my subscription to that bloodlust, right? Anyway, let's continue.
It's been a few years to get this one passed. He joins us now in the studio, Chris.
This was another one that took several tries to get it across the finish line.
I mean, it is. It's not just me, is it? It's a bit weird. It's a bit strange having some, you know, state-appointed judge behind some Louisiana courtroom desk. Like, yeah, cut his goddamn balls off. Like, it's barbaric, no? It's a bit troubling. Like, I don't want to tap into the whole, you know, like, I understand the vitriol, the need for justice. But it's somewhat. I tell you what's as troubling, equally as troubling, is the way that they talk about this thing. Like it's a football maneuver or so. Well, it took a bit of time to get this one over the line, heck. But finally, it was a good game. We did it in the end. We got it over the finish line. Here come the cheerleaders. Who wants a Bud Light? All right.
For the first time in the country's history, child rapists can now be ordered by a judge to have their testicles removed if the victim is under the age of 13 and the offender is older than 17. The law already allowed for judges to issue an order of chemical castration prior to the new law.
At the end of the day, I hope the kids know that they can feel safer because there would be some real tough penalty actions that would occur when somebody violates their innocence.
Okay, so if you're under the age of 13... and the perpetrator is over the age of 17, right, then the judge has this power to order that your balls are cut off if you're under the age of 13. And I guess the idea is that this is a deterrent. She's like, you know, the kids should feel safer as a result of this policy, of this new freedom for judges to be able to order this. Kids should feel safer if you're under the age of 13. Do you think it'll work? Do you think children will be safer because of this policy threatening to cut off their balls if the kid is under 13? Do you think it will work as a deterrent? Or do we think if these perpetrators, these nonceburgers, if they are as badly wired as they obviously are, right, being drawn to the type of person that they are drawn to, in that way, with the control factor, with the gratification factor, do we think that actually they probably won't give a shit about a deterrent and they'll just go ahead and do it anyway? Like, I'm always amazed by the whole deterrent thing. It's more like, for my mind, it's more about keeping people safe. Like, grab this guy, put him in a cell to keep the rest of society safe from him, right? But the deterrent thing doesn't really wash with me. I think these types of people, they've got bad wiring. They're always going to be drawn to that. Anyway, the best you can do is try to identify it early and give them counselling and medication and, yes, maybe chemical castration or something. But the whole deterrent thing is just not going to work. It's like somebody coming up to me and then going like, hey, yeah, don't like 5'4" brunettes with big boobs anymore. Just don't like it. It's naughty. It is forbidden, mate. You know, then Salma Hayek and Mia Kunis walk past, and I'm like, oh, goddamn. You two gonna get me in all kinds of trouble. Wait, no, that sounds creepy. But you get my point, right? If they're wired that way, there's not much you can do to deter them from doing the thing that their brain is just poorly wired to tell them to do, right? Anyway.
If the victim is under the age of 13 and the offender is older than 17.
I mean, here's the weird thing about this, guys. Here's the wild thing. It's like, I mean, it's not funny. It's that, like, we all know that the actual subject behind this is not funny. It is not a laughing matter, and I'm not mocking people who have been through things like this. But there is some comedic mileage to be found in the fact that this law, if we're talking about whether it could ever be a deterrent, actually, I think it won't deter them, but what it will do is it will make paedophiles, paradoxically, more efficient at checking the girl's age. I think that is what this is going to achieve.
If the victim is under the age of 13 and the offender is older than 17.
Because we've all heard the stories, or we watched movies where, like, you know, a 19-year-old guy goes to a nightclub, right, and then he picks up a girl, like a woman, and he takes her out to his car and he, you know, has a bit of fun with her or whatever. And then it turns out that actually she's way underage and she just used her big sister's ID to get into the club that night. Like, we've all seen those scenes in those movies and crime thrillers. And then the guy's like, I thought she was 18, you know, that sort of thing, right? Now that they're not going to have that defense any longer, are they? Because a lot of them are going to check that this girl is over the age of 13. That's going to be very important to them. More important than whether she's over the actual age of consent. I can't be losing my balls. It's okay. I told you I'm 15. Oh, you're 50. Oh, okay. Well, then we got no problem, sugar. There's going to be a lot of that going on. I love the fact also that Louisiana have bothered to make this a law that applies to, like, if you're over 17 and she's under 13, then you've got a real problem here, right? You're going to lose your balls. But if they put that age down, right? If they try to make it a deterrent for like 16-year-olds, 15, 16 and 17-year-olds to deter them from knocking up their cousins and second cousins, well, then they would have a baby shortage, wouldn't they? Nobody's having babies if they put that policy in. You know? It's borderline racist and culturally at odds with Louisiana if you stop 15-year-olds having babies with 14-year-olds.
Oh, now what the fuck is this shit?
Okay, so let's move on, shall we? Let's you know when they say like dip a toe into an area? Well, let's just remove our toes from that ickiness over there, and instead let's go over here and explore a good old dose of Americana, guys. Frequent and fervent viewers will be very aware and will have grown very accustomed to my my love of Americana, which, do you know what? You could probably box up that Louisiana castration story into Americana. You know, it's a sort of a UK-based look in wonder, a gasp at American life, culture, etc., etc. What we like to do normally is just dig out a weird news story from the US, and this one leapt to the fore. It really did, and you're about to find out why, because, do you know what? The word catharsis just doesn't fucking cover it. I fully get where this guy is coming from. I just totally get it. You know, the crime that this guy has committed, rather than punish him with any flavour of castration, I think he should just be given a fucking trophy. Right, let's get into it, shall we? It says, McDonald's employee sentenced to prison for setting dumpster fire because the restaurant was too crowded. It says, Joshua Darrell McGregor, 34, was sentenced to 5 years in federal 5 years in federal prison for that. And this is what he looks like. He should be a singer in an emo band, doesn't he? He looks kind of tormented. Too old to be in an emo band, though. You know, it stops being teen angst at some point, Daryl. Let's have a read, shall we? A McDonald's employee working at a store in Savannah, Georgia. So in the South. Sounds about right. Again, Louisiana vibes here. Savannah, Georgia, was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison after pleading guilty. He's lucky, really. 5 years now. Next year, they'll cut off his fucking dick. In fact, no. Next year it'll be like, it's eye for an eye. Just like in these here pages of this is Bible country, son. It's eye for an eye. You set fire to the good people of McDonald's, their dumpster. We gonna pour this petrol on your penis. We gonna see how you lie. It's eye for an eye. Anyway, it says Joshua Daryl McGregor, 34, was working at the restaurant on Montgomery Avenue in April 2023 when he became frustrated that the store was too busy. Intentionally setting a fire in an effort to shut down or damage someone else's property is inexcusable, said the attorney. Joshua McGregor will have substantial time to ponder his post-prison employment options. Which seems, that seems a little bit chunty, doesn't it? Like the whole thing seems so like America, so draconian. Like he started a fire, yes, okay. You started a fire and that is not good. Can't emphasize that enough. People, please do not start fires. I hope that goes without saying. But if the restaurant is overcrowded and super busy and actually you're like, really? It's too busy, guys. It's overcrowded. Somebody's going to get hurt. This is against fire regulations, right? What better way to illustrate that you're actually too crowded and you're breaking the fire regulations than starting an actual fire? I mean, he should be applauded for his ingenuity, actually. But yeah, the thing about the district attorney, Joshua McGregor will have substantial time to ponder his post-prison employment options. That just seems a bit chunty to me. You know, he's already just working in McDonald's. What do we imagine that his employment options were like before this? In Savannah, Georgia, in the American South, working in Mackie D's. What do we... to ponder his post-prison employment options in a country where once you're convicted of something, pretty much every company is just like, yeah. It also says McGregor lit a piece of cardboard on fire and threw it into the dumpster fire outside the restaurant that was already full of cardboard and other flammable materials. He ensured the fire ignited before going back inside to the restaurant. Because he's thorough, see? Ingenuity, thoroughness. This is a guy who he should be promoted, is what he should be. He also filmed the fire with his cell phone and posted the video on social media. Well, okay. I mean, maybe not promoted. Maybe he's not, grad scheme material. McGregor was training to be a manager at the establishment. He was training to be a manager. So they did promote him. They saw something in him. McGregor was training to be a manager at the establishment at the time. He's a trainee manager. The restaurant just got a bit too busy, a bit too crowded. And Joshua Daryl McGregor was like, you know what? I can't deal with this. Will you all go home? You don't need to eat every single burger that they cook. There will be more burgers tomorrow, I promise you. Apple pies, chicken McNuggets. It's all still going to be here tomorrow. Why don't you take your girlfriend somewhere else? Why you got to be here every Friday night, Hank? Jesus Christ. You Could you get back in the Corvette, for God's sake? You've been here an hour with all of your friends, creaming the Wi-Fi. Have you even bought a thing? Just go. And you, Taylor, Brittany, Chet, all of you work here. Why are you here? On your night off. Why are you just hanging out? Just go somewhere else. For God's... And then they like snap at him back. They're like, oh, what, you think you're the manager? You think you own this place, Hank? Huh? What, just because you got that trainee manager name badge? Because you got 6 stars on your name badge? You're pathetic. What are you even going to do about it, Hank? Then Hank disappears out the fire exit. Have a cigarette to calm down. Jesus Christ. I'm not even supposed to be here today. I'm only here to cover a shift. Because they said they need somebody to cover the shift. The douchebag stuff sick, and I'm trying to make manager, official manager, so I can get to area manager, and then become director and get a company car and a pension. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Can't be dealing with this bullshit. And they're like mocking him through the glass, like banging on the glass. What are you gonna do, Hank? You don't own this. You think you own this place, Hank? What are you gonna do about it? And he's like, and he looks back at the fire exit, and he's just walked through, and he's like, of course. The fire. I could start a fire. It's against fire regulations. It's overcrowded. I could start a goddamn fire. That'll show him. And in like his mind, he's gonna be like the kid from the meme. Like, you know, the little girl in front of the house that's burning down. She's like, looks back like, it's like an evil grin. Like she started the fire. In his mind, he's gonna be like that. You know, the cool guy in the movie stood in front of the explosion and the fire. Yeah. Now what? Right? That's who he is in his mind. Just people screaming and the crackling of the fire in the background, and 21 Pilots as the soundtrack for this scene, realistically. Unfortunately, it is highly illegal to start fires, to be an arsonist. And he is immediately busted by the CCTV, it says. And he's sentenced to 4 fucking years. 4 years. And just put yourself in his position for a second, right? Just consider how ridiculous he's going to feel when he's in the group therapy sessions at the Georgia Correctional Facility, right? If you take these institutions at their word, that they are there to correct you, to educate you, to rehabilitate you, right? Before you're released, so you can go back into society as a fixed human being, right? When you're in your group therapy sessions, who do you think he's going to be sat there in a circle sharing his story with? Who do you think is going to be the benchmark, the backdrop that this guy is going to have to share his story with? What did you do? Like that thing, right? Because he's going to be sat alongside sharing his story with pedophiles, right? You know, before the Georgia law was put in or whatever, or before the Louisiana. You get the idea. He's going to be sat there with pedophiles, with sex criminals, weapons traffickers, people who went to jail for 20 years because they murdered their sister over an unresolved debt. There's going to be banking and wire fraud types who've defrauded their families and friends and stuff of like, you know, $50 million. There's going to be a lot of that stuff. Serious criminals, career convicts, people who've been sentenced to 20, 30, 40 years for some serious shit. And then they're going to pass the cushion around to him for his turn to talk. What is he going to say? So there's going to be one guy like, I murdered my sister. And then the next guy's going to be like, I committed a banking fraud of $100 million. And then there's going to be a third guy, I'm a convicted pedophile with 3 strikes and I got sent down for 30 years. Then it's going to get around to this guy. He could be like, I set fire to a dumpster at McDonald's. I was a trainee manager and I just had enough. And I snapped and I set fire to the dumpster. They could be like, sorry, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, why are you even here? You set fire to a bin And they gave you 4 years. Some of us have real behavioural problems here that we're trying to correct, that we're trying to dig deep into. You're telling me you set a bin on fire? Well, whoop-de-fucking-do. You know who else did that? My Aunt Mary at my friend's bar mitzvah. She went up in flames. You know what she didn't get? She didn't get 4 years, though. And this guy's going to be like, oh, really? She didn't? What did she get? What happened? Well, I have to cast my mind back. As I recall, the trash was up in flames. She looked at it, she went, God damn it. And she picked up a bourbon and threw it in the trash. It put the fire out. And he's going to be like, really? That was it? The other guy's going to be like, well, sort of. Then she said, dag nabbit, that was the last of my bourbon. Now, come here. Why don't you be a good boy and go over across the street and get another bottle of bourbon from your Uncle Tommy? You ask him for one of his bottles. You know what? If Uncle Tommy ain't in, you tell his little girl, Anna Mae, you just tell her that he said that you could borrow it. Why don't you give her a nice little smile? Like you always do, because I know that you like her, son. I know that you like her, Jim Bob. I see the way you look at her. You listen to me, Jim Bob. You wait till she's 14, all right? You hear me? Ain't you read the news? I mean, look, there's some other stuff here. In addition to 5 years in prison, a judge ordered McGregor to pay restitution for property lost in the fire and to serve 3 years of supervised release when his prison term is finished. So 5 years in prison. Sorry, is it 5 or 4? I thought it said 4. Let's have a quick look. No, 5. Okay, so 5 years in prison and probation. A further 3 years of probation on top. Says Savannah's Fires Arson Unit greatly appreciates our continued ability to work with our local and federal partners to successfully prosecute arson that affects interstate commerce in our jurisdiction. These efforts made as a partnership have continued to make our community safer, blah, 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 right? I mean, there's something weird to this, isn't it? Like, it just seems so over the top to me. I'm sure it must have been very frightening. We don't know all of the context. Maybe there was some sort of drama where he was mocked and he was just like, you know what? I'm going to set the place on fire. Maybe there was something like that to it. I don't know. But this is not the same as a load of kids, making a Molotov cocktail and burning down a McDonald's, is it? This isn't the same as some kids stealing your car and then burning it out. There's something to this. And I don't know. 5 years. And then 3 years probation on top. That just seems, again, a little bit chunty, right? But this is America, isn't it? And in America, you get charges just layered on top of charges. I did an episode of the podcast a few months ago where we were talking about conspiracy charges that they roll out over there. So, if you try to rob a bank, they don't just charge you with robbing a bank or robbing a private business or, armed robbery or whatever the charge might be that you might assume that they would charge you with. They also, on top of it, charge you with conspiracy to commit that crime that you did end up committing. I don't really understand how you would evade that charge. If you did the thing, then surely you conspired to do the thing as well. Shouldn't it come as a package deal? Is what I was left wondering. Did you set fire to the McDonald's dumpster thing? Yeah, I did. Right, okay, well, arson is a very serious thing, and it devastates communities, and it's not fair on businesses, and you could have killed somebody, so here's 5 years and 3 years of probation. Okay, well, that really sucks, but at least I can live a life when I get it. Well, you would think that, but unfortunately, you also conspired to commit arson, and that carries an extra sentence of 5 to 10 years in jail. So it's here's the best part of a decade in Club Fed for committing arson, and here is another decade for even thinking about committing arson. It's why not just make the sentencing appropriate for the thing that they've actually done. Like, there's no need. Like, it seems unfair to me. I'm not on the side. Like, I swear to God, this entire episode so far, all I've done is said, like, maybe you'd be a bit more lenient on it. I'm doing nothing to dispel rumours and myths that I am some sort of bleeding heart, compassionate liberal, am I? I understand there's a place for punishment. And I understand there's a place for deterrence, maybe-ish, sort of. But I do still stick to what I was saying earlier. Like, most of the judiciary should actually be focused on protecting people. You know, if you're a violent offender, you should be put away in an institution, but not as a form of punishment. I don't think that actually changes anything. I think you should be put in a cell to protect people in the wider society. And it's sort of similar vibe with this. It's like, what was the actual scenario and the context around this? Is he likely to reoffend? Dunno. Maybe he was a pyromaniac. Maybe he's a psychopath. Maybe he had always told his friends, one day I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. You know, maybe it was something like that. Maybe he was a paranoid, schizophrenic narcissist, and that's why he uploaded it onto social media as well, to brag about it. Maybe there is some more context to this, but I don't know. If he's got no priors, doesn't say anything about like a life of crime to him. The guy looks like he's, you know, bassist in the touring backing band for Fall Out Boy or something, you know? I don't know. I just can't imagine that this individual needs 5 years in a penitentiary. That just doesn't seem right to me. That doesn't seem the right place for him to be at all. In fact, if you really wanted to put him in the right place for who he is and his profile and the crimes that he's committed, honestly, the best place for him would be Middlesbrough or fucking Rotherham. I mean, truly. Right? Like, if striking a match and throwing it in a McDonald's dumpster after you've had a hard day, if that gets you 5 years and 3 years probation in America, what that tells me is that America doesn't understand him. So where could be more welcoming than the north and northeast of the UK, of England, where setting fire to a hotel and a police car, is that serious? Does that get you jail time? No. It's just boxed up as protest. It's not taken seriously at all. They get it. They understand. So I think if he was looking for a place where he would be welcomed with open arms, that truly understand him, where he definitely would not be given 5 years jail and probation, you know, probably let's get him a visa, right? Let's get him a visa. The one immigrant that these people would welcome. I mean, it sounds like I'm being facetious, but I promise you I'm not, guys. As a father, I can't stress how important it is for you to put people in an environment where they can flourish. Which is, for this guy, America, not suited to America. Northeast of England, he would flourish. His strengths, his skill set, his toolkit that he's been blessed with would be, it's a perfect fit. And he's blonde-haired and blue-eyed. I mean, ticking all the boxes here, Daryl. Right, guys, that's it for this one. I'm going to have to cut it very short. I say very short, it's not that short. Just because I've got to get the kids ready, and I'm sort of pre-recording this for this week's midweek solo show so that you guys have got some content while I'm away. I'm taking the kids away for a few days, and I just want to make sure that there's episodes of the pod. If you're not on the Patreon or the YouTube community, do consider jumping on that shit. It starts at only £3 a month, then it goes up to £5, or is it £6? Goes up to £10. You can join the £50 tier if you want. And for that, you get a sort of sliding scale of benefits. I think £3 just means, good job, Aid, enjoying your stuff. And then £5, you start getting invited to the one-to-one Skypes and the meetups. £10, you start getting credited at the end of the shows. Have I got the Patreons up here? Oh, there you go. Look at their beautiful names. These beautiful bougie bastards. You start getting credited at the end of shows like this. As soon as I can remember to do so, that is. And you get invited to in-person meetups as well. So yeah, come join my cult. My People of the Booge cult. My binfluence are massive. Next in-person meetup will be in probably about 3 months' time. I usually do them in London just because that's close to where I am. And I'm selfish like that. The next podcast, like live show, I can't do a live show this week because I'm away. But I will be doing one the following Friday. So if you're into the live show, which includes the live chat, the super chats, everyone getting involved together, live Q&A and all of that stuff, all of that jazz, that will be happening a week on Friday. But I will make sure, as I say, that there is an uploaded, pre-recorded number for you for this Friday night while I'm away. That's it from me. Thanks very much for continuing to tune in, and for everybody that's jumping on the alternative paper reviews, which I put out most mornings. I've got a new... Oh, I almost forgot to mention. I've got a new clips channel for podcast clips. So if you're enjoying the podcast and you wondered where the clips of it have gone, all of the clips are over on a new Aid Thompson clips channel, which I've had to set up because people love the paper reviews. And they do watch the podcast clips, but not anywhere near as much as the paper reviews. So I've separated them out into a different channel just so one doesn't impact the other, because the algorithm is really funny like that. It's quite punishing. Not cut your balls off punishing. Not riot and terror sentencing punishing, but it is punishing nonetheless. Anyway, I'm blethering now. I need to go. So take care of yourselves. Catch you all next time. We out this motherfucker.